Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and boy, do I have an interesting one that just came in. This one is skipping. It's a Triton Mark II Shimano. Been around for a long time, but there's a marked skip every cycle here, and I'm not sure if this one's going to be repairable or not. It seems like there's a lot of movement going on in here. I'm not sure if that's wear or if there's trapped line in here or what in the world is going on. So I haven't seen one of these in quite a few years. But we're going to take this apart. We'll do some diagnosis. We'll see if we can get this thing back going again. So I'm going to start by mentioning that I do wear a protective glove on my hand to keep the junk off of it. Junk being the general dried lubricants and oils and things like that. I also use a little parts tray that I put all my pieces and parts to when I go to remove those, because I want them in one place when I go to return. Alright, this has got a little lockdown screw inside of it here when you take that off, so let's go ahead and do that. And this little screw hasn't been used in a long time. This thing is just caked full of salt that needs to be cleared in order for us to get that screw out. All right, and we'll just keep. Okay, well, then we can remove our storage drag, which seems to be over tightened. There might be something going on underneath here. That seems to be working right now, so I think we may be probably have worn drag washers in this, and we'll just continue taking a look at this, seeing if that's the case. Because once you get that handle off and you relieve the tension on that case, it seems that it's working again. So let's pull this and see what we have underneath. It's a classic reel, thinking 80s, because Shimano went and changed all their cases to the graphite cases after a while. So the Triton series of reels, the Triton Mark II, but the Triton series of reels was in the this front plate should come off now. Nice solid reel there. Nothing going on in the back end that makes it look unusual. Let's just put that off to the side for a moment. We have all of the works of this gear set and everything in this reel. Everything's tripping. So let's take those 3 screws off there and try and figure this one out. I think at the end of the day we're going to be down drag washers, and we'll see what we can do to replace those. I think what happens is when you run out of drag washers on this one, there's just too much tension on the case, and that'll cause you to skip. And bog down the performance. So there are 3 case screws here. That should enable us to remove the case now. Okay, with a little bit of effort you can pull that off, and I think we can see why this reel is underperforming. It's got rusted washers, and it's probably not been cleaned since the day it came into being. So let's go ahead. Oh, there's another interesting one. We have a washer here. I'm not sure if that one was inside or just fell off. Those are going in my parts tray. Should be able to pull a cap. Get these springs out of here so that they don't disappear. I'm going to spray all of this down with a cleaning agent. I'm just going to use a penetrating oil, let it sit. I'm going to do some cleaning and I'll come back. I'm going to clean this off with a brush and with the paper towel and cotton swabs. So before I leave, this is a good time to thank our first responders, our essential personnel, everybody involved in keeping us safe during the pandemic, and all of the folks that are working with the vaccines now, vaccine distribution and the like. And clearly, if you have the opportunity to get a vaccine, please go ahead and take advantage of that. This herd immunity thing is something that we all need to pay attention to, we all need to be part of, and in the end, it'll keep us safe. So I'm going to turn the camera off now. We're going to do cleaning just like that, and when I come back, we'll see if we can't solve this drag issue here. Okay, so I spent an awful lot of time cleaning, and I have confirmed that the issue with this reel is worn and broken drag washers. So there's no question there. There was some pitting on the metal washers, and I'm sure with all that mess there, it's all been cleaned off. We have a tarnish on there now, but we don't have any riddles or bumps or the like. And I was lucky, the owner was lucky, I guess. The Penn 60 drag washer fits this reel perfectly. So we're going to be able to change out those old broken washers for the Penn Long Beach. They're the HD 100 washers, and they'll fit this reel very well. Okay, I've cleaned what I could clean of this. We're going to grease the main gear. Beautiful reel. It's a shame it wasn't maintained, but this one looks like it fished until it had an issue, right? And that's unfortunate. If this one was maintained, you probably wouldn't have lost some of those fish with the skip. All right, that main gear is greased. I'm going to do the same thing here. I've taken this apart. I cleaned all the old grease out of it. I checked the teeth. Now we're just going to make sure that we can reinstall the yoke before we go any further. On the yoke, there's two sides. There's a triangular side that goes in. On the gear, there's two sides. This one faces the spool, so that goes down on the ridge, just like that. And then we can install our main gear, which rides over the top. And there's a washer that main gear sits on. All right, we have 3 metals and 3 HD 100 washers. I'm going to use Cal's Universal Dry Grease here, and I'm going to use my gloved hand as a tool. I'm going to work that in. I'm going to seat the first washer. And you have the metal washer next. I choose one that has a little bit less of the corrosion kind of stuff on it. Second drag washer. Then this one was, it's all tarnished, but it's not, I use steel wool to clean it off, but it's just, right now it's just tarnish. It should not affect the drag performance. Here's your last of the drag washers now. Again, we'll use that dry grease. And if you get too much in, just use a paper towel to get the rest of that wiped off. This will be your cap washer then. Just like that. Then we had a series of these tension washers, and although dirty, they clean. They're the same idea. Their tension properties, I guess, could be questioned, but get those in here. The last one is a flat one. Then you sit the cap on top of that, and then we can reinstall after we put the springs back on in those cavities. The side plate screws came out with that. Speaking of caps, I took the cap off, the adjuster cap off here just to clean it. We can put that back on. Now you have the 3 points, so that's what you're looking for in terms of how to set this up. to the screw holes. Oops, forgot we have a band here. That would make sense. So the band sits with the indentations on the outside of this, flush to the piece, and now we can install. I was trying to put way too much on this thing. You need to make sure that that band gets sealed into the case, and you need to make sure that your screw holes are lined up. There you are. So now we can grab those 3 screws, put those in. And now you can see why I wear a glove. You can see all the oils and that from all the cleaning and the dirt and the grease and the grime and everything on my bench. Kind of coming out here. Here's your second one, and this is why I use the parts tray, because these small screws are very easily lost. You just kind of leave them around on your table, particularly if you find yourself doing a lot of cleaning and a lot of moving of pieces and parts like we did with those bad drag washers. Okay, there should be one more little screw in there somewhere. There it is. So I guess we've learned a couple of things. One of them is your reel will eventually fail if you don't service it. In this case, it doesn't appear as if it was ever serviced in the last 20 years or so. But we also learned that there are some tricks, and one of the tricks here was that the pen drag washers are an acceptable substitute for the washers, that the old leather washers that were in this. And, at this point, I just want to push this down, make sure that we have the trip function working. Yep, that's all working. Now we can take those tension washers, put those back on, and now we should be in a position now where we don't have a fail or a skip going on when we reinstall. Alright, the back end I've cleaned up as well. That's a bearing back there, so I'm going to put a little bit of oil on there. I'm sure there hasn't been any oil on that bearing in quite some time. The back end of the case here, there's just a little bit of green grease there. Let's get that out. That's just the click mechanism there. We can put a little bit of grease back on there where it sits in the bearing. Reinstall that. Put some grease onto the shaft here. We have those brakes. When you go to reinstall your side, make sure that you push the brakes in. And then we have the way that this mounts. Look for the notch in the case. Look for the trip mechanism. Push that all down. We have our 3 spring or thumb screws. Let's get those in. And then we'll see how we did. So this is a beautiful old reel, very solid in design. You won't see them made like this anymore. My guess is the 70s or 80s. I have to go check. Kind of did this one without the schematic. So this was among a group of reels that Thomas sent in. Tommy's been having some problems with. Some of them were pieces and parts that I couldn't do anything with. Some of them could get reinstalled. Okay, so with the star adjuster back on, let's give it a turn. Look at that. Does that work nicely or what? Okay, all we have to do now is just return, put the handle on. Got a beautiful spinning reel, nice and quiet. You got a adjuster that's popping up here, and we got a nice tight drag. So I'm happy with the performance. You can see that what dirt and grease and grime and inattention to repairing is all about. Okay, with that handle installed, let's give it that final test. There you go. It's just a beautiful performing old senior citizen reel that's there for a long time to come. This is a good example of a nice reel that's been now maintained, oiled and greased in the lake, and it will last somebody a long time if they just keep it going. Unfortunately, this told the story of a reel that hadn't been serviced in years. All that grease and junk bogged it down, and the old drag washers forced a poor performance situation in that area, and we've just taken care of all of that by giving it a good cleaning and a tune-up. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it. If you want to see more of these, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please hit the notification button so that you get to see all of the episodes that I post. If you have any questions about the reels, please leave them in the comments. I try to answer all questions regardless of the type of reel that you may have the question on or that's being shown in the video. And finally, if you have a reel that needs to be serviced and you're not up for doing that service yourself, well, contact me on using the information on the business card that follows. Send me an email and I will be happy to provide you with the repair information. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.